So right now I'm smack dab in the middle of working on my headlight and my taillight video, which hopefully one of those is dropping soon. Probably the headlight video. But in between those two videos, I decided that I wanted to add some really small projector LEDs to my fog lights. This is a misprint, but yeah, check out my other video for the install of these. I found these cheap projector LEDs. They're supposed to be water resistant, but I've seen some reviews say that you might want to seal them up a little bit better. So like this part unscrews and you can kind of like, I don't know, they said RTV even like as a gasket, probably around the very edge of the lens itself. I'd probably also run some sort of silicone around this wiring. But the lens itself is actually only 7/8 of an inch. So the lens is 7/8 of an inch and the whole body itself is 1 inch and 3/8. So pretty small. And I was thinking when I saw these are actually for motorcycles. The review said that they were extremely bright and they are fan cooled. So what I thought would be nice was to take one of these, add a circle in the middle with a mount for it, and just kind of just put that right in the center. They are a little heavier than I expected them to be, but I don't know if that's good or bad. What I'm going to be doing is redesigning my current fog light ducts, which I wanted to do anyway because I was thinking afterwards that I didn't make the cone long enough. I want to make it a little longer, and the actual bevel, because it goes from a I think this is like a almost 4-inch down and reduces down to like a 2.5. And so what I'm thinking is I'm going to extrude this a little further out and kind of have the cone taper slower rather than being so aggressive. Yeah, so I'm going to make my ducting side longer and also add the cutout in the center. And these mount just by 2 screws, one on each side. Well, I guess you could do a third one also. Actually, you do one on all 4 sides. Yeah, and it's mostly circular, so I'm just going to do a circle cutout in the center and make some mounting holes and just mount that in there. It doesn't need to be adjustable. If it's snug enough, it's going to just go move with the car. I'm going to get those modeled and I will be back to show the finished result. I did end up getting a OEM switch, I thought I did. So if that's the case, I'll be able to wire these into a fog light switch with a relay. Yeah, I'll probably show the basic wiring. All right, let's get started. These fog lights fit in there really tight. This one's actually bolted in. I accidentally designed this one without a way to get in there to bolt it in. They are really snug in there, but I have a feeling when these heat up, it might loosen. It's either going to loosen up or it's going to kind of stick together. I'm not sure which one, but I'm thinking I might be able to get a tool in there to kind of get... I'm going to cut this down a little bit, and if I can get in there just to, if not, time will tell if they stay. I did get the OEM switch for the Miata. This has 5 pins, and I was trying to find a wiring diagram for this online, and I did for 3 of the pins. So I know that, I know that the red is your 12-volt source, and that the these are the triggers for the left and right fog light. So you got your pink and light blue, and your red and green, and then you got your solid red. I don't know, and I've been searching what the black and red and the gray and red do. I almost want to say that the gray and red, it might be like illumination or like the dimmer wire, and this might be a ground. I'm not using the factory relay harness. I'm actually going to make my own. I have that here, a fused relay, really simple. Because I don't have the whole harness. I just have the switch. So all I'm going to do is use this for the actual trigger for the power to trigger the relay. I did do a continuity test on the relay and the switch just to kind of figure out what was what. So yeah, this is the red wire, and that'll be the ignition or accessory tap that I'll be going through. And then I'll be using either one of these wires to actually send the signal over to the relay. So for my relay, I have black is ground, white is the trigger from the switch, red is constant 12 volt that also has the fuse. White wire goes to the fog light positive, and that'll be split. So that'll go to, I'll run a wire from the relay to one fog light and then bridge it over to the other one. The ground wire for the fog light will just be grounded to chassis. It's a chassis ground. I'm also not sure yet which color I'm going to run. These have an option for a white, like 5000K, 6000K, around there. Probably 6000K. And it also has the yellow 3000K color temp. I'm kind of a fan of the 3000K, but I'm not sure how it's going to look on the car. All right, I'm going to build this harness, get these installed, and get going on this. All right, so for the most part, I determined that I only need to use one of these wires, either the red and green or the pink and light blue. I'm gonna go with the red and green because this is the one that's actually connected to the bulb inside. So I'm not expecting it to work or illuminate, but if it does, great. If it doesn't, it's fine, because I'm going to be using an ignition sourced power to trigger this anyway, so they won't be left on with the car off. I actually just kind of cover the rest of the wires and trim them back so that, because they're not needed, not too far, they're tucked in the back. And all I have exposed is the red wire for the ignition and the red-green for the trigger. This would be the trigger wire for the relay. It's a thin gauge remote wire. It's really just used to click this on. So that should be fine. Yeah, currently my lip lights don't quick disconnect. So I have this one that has the red and black quick disconnect, but the yellow doesn't for whatever reason. I don't know what harness this was for, but I'm going to be using it for this. So what I'm going to do is add a disconnect right here, which is this one. And I know the colors don't match, but I'm going to cover it anyway. And so that'll make it so that the yellow is also able to be disconnected. So power coming from relay, disconnects, power and ground to one, power and ground to the other. So you can probably see here that I have quite the mess, but I got pretty much all the wiring done. The only thing that's left to wire is under the dash, which is a 12 volt ignition and the wire that actually connects to the relay. Here is the relay all wired up. I have my ground, 12 volt fused. This is the wire that's going into the switch. I built a loom using some expanding sleeve and some spare wire I had. So that runs through to these disconnects. So I'm able to disconnect it. And the rest of this harness right here goes to the actual fog lights themselves. If I want to remove the bumper, I don't have to take off. I can just disconnect these and it'll come off with the bumper. So that's kind of nice compared to my other lip lights currently. I'll have to do this for them too. I just had the same problem the other ones did. I do need to notch this a little bit. Probably do both sides. I did redesign this a little bit and I made it wider, but I guess I didn't make it wide enough, but that's okay. I'm gonna notch those really quick. So I did notch these just like I did the other ones, and now it should hopefully fit properly. All right, there we go. Those both fit in there really well. Alright, here's a test fit. Fairly straight. I still think it's a little crooked, but I'm trying to straighten it out a little bit and then glue them in. All right, it's in there. Now it's just time to let that dry a little bit and continue on. I'm gonna get back to wiring. I'm gonna do the switch inside and get the relay mounted and all that stuff. And then hopefully by then, this is tacked up enough that I can start putting it back together. This is the relay harness. Here's the relay. Blue wire that goes into the cabin. And what I'm gonna do is, since I deleted my water bottle, I have this plate right here that has mounting holes on it, and so I'm just gonna mount the relay right there, and then the ground is gonna go right here to this ground because that's already a chassis ground. And then for the positive, I'm going to the fuse box, and there is a bolt right there in the center. Watch out because that is hot. Hot meaning power, not temperature hot. Although if you ground it out, it will get temperature hot. So yeah, I'm gonna go right here for the 12 volt supply for the to pull for the fog lights, and right there for the ground, right there for the ground. And I'll be mounting my relay right here. And then I'll just run the blue wire across the firewall and into the firewall and into this grommet down here that kind of has all the accessories ran to it. I'll go through there because that's where the fuse box is anyway, and that's where I need to be wiring the switch, and it's just, that's where everything's got to go. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. All right, so that's back together. Fuse is in place, ground is grounding, and the relay is mounted. Now, this blue wire now has to go, I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but this blue wire is going across to the other side. This, on the other hand, this is my wiring that runs to the actual fog lights themselves. And all I'm gonna do is kind of tuck this back under here, run it all the way down there, and run it in the front. I overshot, I think. Yeah, if you can see that. Yeah, I overshot a little bit because you don't want to be too short. So I'm gonna run that now. Next time I'm completely aired out, I'm gonna disconnect that and reroute that fuse out from over that line. And that was an accident. But luckily there's a quick disconnect right there, or a push to connect. And as far as the harness, I used that clip, came through, there's another clip right there, and then tucked it behind the rest of the wiring, which goes down underneath the intake, continues through there. And then I was gonna go in here, but that's actually wrong, so I had to bring it around, and it goes underneath the headlight. And there's a hole right there. I have other wiring right there anyway. So the rest of the harness comes right here, which is in the exact perfect spot for the rest of it. Now back to the internal switch. All right, there is a blank here that is the exact shape as this, so that's what we're going with. All right, I gotta get this out. Does it come out fairly easy? Kinda. Might need two hands. If you're struggling to get this out, like I was, I almost messed up my dash. Almost, because I was gonna try to use this pick tool. Not a good idea. Don't use a pick tool. This stuff is soft and it'll dent. What I did was I pulled out my vent. Just popped it out, and there is a little gap. And what I did was I just used the old two fingers and pushed from the back while I used a pry tool. You could use probably a screwdriver with electrical tape around the tip to protect it. And yeah, I was able, between those two things, I was able to pop that out. So yeah. And now I'm kind of curious what that goes to. I shouldn't have wiring for fog lights. I don't have the fog light relay. What does that go to? I mean, it was a blank. There's nothing there. Anyway, I'm not going to use it because I don't know what it goes to, and there is wiring there. I'll look, but realistically, I just want to use this. I already made my own separate harness and stuff. All right, I am using the audio 20 amp to pull power from. That's going to be my ignition wire, so that's going to tell the relay to turn on. Shouldn't take much amperage to do that. So all right, I fed the blue wire through the grommet. Should be almost done, I think. Yeah, just about. Okay, all that's left is connecting that blue wire to one of these wires. I don't remember which one. Oh yeah, the red green. So blue will go to red green, and red will go to red. By red I mean the ignition tap, the accessory audio, whatever you want to call it, the one that turns on with the key. That'll go with the red, solid red. And just pop this switch in. Okay, it's been a couple of days. I want to give you guys an update. All the other LED lights that I've ever used had the cord coming out the bottom to prevent condensation buildup on that cable and potentially entering the body of the LED light itself, just as a precaution. Apparently these are made upside down, or they just chose to make them that way or whatever, because I installed them the way I would think that they should be installed, and they are upside down, or I would assume that they're upside down, because when I installed them the way they were blasting light just all the way. They look like high beams, really. What I did was I took one out because one is easier to remove than the other, and I flipped it 180, and that made a huge improvement. It just, the cutoff you could see across that side, and it just really made it the way it was supposed to be positioned. The next video should be the finished result.